I'm going to throw myself under the bus because I did just a little bit of research, and when I started diving in to all kinds of technology, Greg, I'm telling you what, it's so much out there that you need to have somebody who is knowledgeable, you need to have somebody who knows what they're doing, and you need to have somebody who can guide you down the road that is best for you, because I'm telling you, hearing aid technology is really come a long way.
Well, the advancements are amazing, especially for just dealing with particular problems, and especially with what modern technology brings out with the advent computer systems, digital streaming, all the rest of that. And when you're dealing with hearing losses, sometimes the hearing instruments don't give full coverage of what we need. They're hearing aids, not hearing fixers. So in terms of dealing with those areas, you have Bluetooth linking devices, direct streaming wireless. So it's quite impressive.
Yes.
It's almost mind-boggling how much they're doing in terms of that technology to help people out.
And it's so funny that you mentioned Bluetooth, because that was one of the first questions that I had. Is it possible to literally Bluetooth your hearing aid?
Yes, it is. They have wireless systems that link together between the hearing aids themselves. And you can actually get remote controls from very basic systems that can just turn them up, turn them down, switch environmental needs, all the way to SurfLink mobiles, which actually allow you to link up to 6 different Bluetooth devices, such as...
You are kidding me.
No, it's absolutely fascinating. And we always, of course, as the new products come out, we get a chance to try them out, see how they respond.
Sure.
And we're always impressed that it's not just a gimmick to get people in there. It's actually so usable. It's amazing, because you can get in your car, like we were talking about before, and you can actually link up to your Bluetooth wireless through the car itself. And your phone actually, your hearing aids actually become your phone. Not only do you hear through them, but you can talk through them as well.
Wow. That is unbelievable. And this is not just something that, oh, we're going to show this off and the newest technology, the computer, it'll be gone in 6 months. This is pristine technology. This is amazing technology. This is technology that is on the forefront of being something that is going to open the door for a lot of people.
A tremendous amount of people. You have patients who, just due to degree of loss, difficulty in understanding and just dealing with the physics of sound, moving through air, problems with TVs, problems with telephones, those areas, and this allows them to link up wirelessly. No different than if they're wearing a headset, and it's linked right to it.
Except they're so tiny.
Yes, yes, and it's also not just an amplification system. It's directly addressing the specific frequency needs that the patients have, because it's not always just volume. A lot of times it's just the clarity.
And let's break this down a little bit, because everybody can say, oh, I don't need Bluetooth, or I don't need this, or I don't need that, but in actuality, what the benefits are truly do outweigh a lot of the, well, I don't needs. Is that right?
Yes. The areas is that sound, of course, we deal with ambient noise all day long. You just don't notice it. We're so accustomed to it. Well, that type of noise, as well as background sounds, can break up how we understand the English language. So this system actually takes it in, cleans it up, separates it, and then brings in the most refined speech enhancement possible. So it makes a huge difference for patients who are trying to understand. We have a lot of businessmen who will use these systems as microphone systems. In schools, they do the same thing through loops or wireless systems for the children in schools, and it allows them to be able to communicate over distances for something they might not have been able to even hear or understand.
Right. And what I think that people kind of forget is, a lot of times if you don't hear somebody, it's not that you're trying to ignore them. It's not that you're trying to even wash away some of what's going on. The benefit of actually hearing someone and communicating is less stress. It's less nervousness. It's less tension. It actually gives them their lives back.
Oh,
is
yes.
that safe to say?
That's what we're trying to do, is as much quality of life as possible. You only have one. You want it to be as good as possible while you're here. And when we're dealing with this, yes, because people strain to hear and understand, it changes their concentration levels as well. At this point now, a person who you think is ignoring you, no, they're just concentrating so hard to understand
Right.
this area and to remember what they're getting in, that they forget or they don't pay attention. It's harder to multitask. The cognitive processing issues become worse. And that just leads to a compounding of different, I guess you could say, psychological problems
And
that
social.
people end up. And
Yeah.
social, without a doubt. Well, we're social creatures.
Absolutely, we are.
Yeah.
And the big thing is, like myself, again, I'll throw myself under the bus for everyone. I started researching. You know, I don't feel like I need hearing aids right. I probably will with all of the iPod technology that's out there, you know, cranking that up while I'm at the
Right.
gym. But literally, it doesn't take long for somebody to realize, oh my gosh, there's so much out there. What do I do? That's where you guys step in. At Indiana Hearing Aid, you step in and say, look, the technology is out there.
Right.
I am going to break this down for you, and that's what you do, right?
Yeah, it's not buying the most expensive system being the best for you. It is defining what your lifestyle is like, what your loss is like, the areas that people don't understand, how well is your understanding capabilities still, and then trying to match the person with the system that fits them for their lifestyle, which is so important. You don't need a Ferrari to go to the grocery store.
You don't?
It would be fun.
Yes, it would.
There could be issues with getting the groceries in, but who cares?
Yeah, right.
But it is matching it up with what the patient needs.
Sure.
It's defining that individual care, not production line care.
Right.
You are not on a production line. You're
Sure.
not a piece of equipment.
And that's the one thing that I want to stress is they're not out to sell you the biggest, the best, the most expensive hearing aids or
No.
hearing implements out there. They're not, I promise you they're not. They're here to give you exactly what you need. You take the time to get to know your patients,
Yes.
just like what you were saying. You don't need the Ferrari. That was a great analogy. You don't need a Ferrari to go to the grocery store.
That's it. And it's also making sure after the fact, because it's a rehabilitation. What people don't realize is it's not a quick fix. It takes years or decades to get into these problem areas. And with the advent of all the new technology, it takes time to get used to utilizing it. So we do a series of follow-ups, and we also find the perspective. Sound is a perception. It's not a black and white issue because we're human beings.
Sure.
So we try and get them what they need for their environments and then refine that with a series of follow-up visits. And then after that, lifetime service, making sure we take care of them because things
Beyond
are
the
going
sale.
to change. We get older, our lifestyles change, our needs, our wants change. And hearing it focalizes on so many different things. And we try and make sure that we keep up to par with that as well.
Now, do you find people get, I can only use my great-grandmother as an example. Do you find that people are a little embarrassed by hearing aid law or hearing loss? Because she didn't really like to talk about it.
Right. It is. There's a stigma attached with that we don't like saying we need help. We're tough people.
Sure.
We like taking care of ourselves. And I come from a generation where if the bone's not sticking out or blood's not pumping out of the artery, look, put some tape on it.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Well, with
Walk it off. Walk it off.
with hearing losses, you can't see it or feel it. All you can tell is by the response factors in a person's daily life that you can notice that. And patients are, well, I don't want to wear them. They make me look old. I was told by a 105-year-old patient, she's not old, she's my elder. She'll take me to a graveyard and show me old people, but
Sure.
get out of her way. Nobody has time to wait
Sure.
for her, all right? She said, look, my quality of life is important now as it was when I was 5 years old. Age makes no difference on that end. She goes, I used to worry about it, made me look old. She goes, I kind of figured out that my gray hair, my wrinkles, and the fact that I said hun what to everything made me look old.
Sure.
And now she, of course, wears them. You couldn't drag them out of her ears if you tried. And she overcame that stigma.
Sure.
And nowadays the technologies are so small that they're really even not noticeable
Right.
for the patients themselves. And they don't hurt. You know, that's
Oh,
one
yeah.
of those areas.
Shoving that into your canal. And
Yeah, and those things are, they've come so far with how they make the systems. It's ease of use.
So I'm sure that you hear, oh, I wish I would have done this a lot sooner, a lot.
Out of every new patient that I work with.
I'm surprised. I'm really not surprised. Honestly, again, I can't stress enough. If you go out there, there's so much technology. And the truth is, you break that technology down because everybody doesn't need the fanciest. Everybody doesn't need the cheapest.
Right.
There's always middle of the road. Now, there are cases when you just can and you just want the most you want that Ferrari.
Sure, sure. And there are certain situations where having that type of flexibility really will enhance that person's lifestyle because their environmental needs are such. But it's not a matter of just, hey, here, do this because I'm the professional.
Sure.
It's here's why you're doing this.
Right.
Okay?
And the follow-up along with it.
Yes, it's helping them through that process. This is a rehabilitation. It takes time to relearn how to hear. If you haven't heard birds in years and forgot what those sounds are, how do you know what you like, how you like it? If you haven't heard paper crackling, if you haven't heard your granddaughter lean over and whisper, I love you, you know.
In such a long time.
Yes. Oh, it's absolutely amazing seeing the faces when new patients put the instruments on and it's like, what are these sounds?
The clouds open, the sun shines.
Well, yeah, it'd be nice. We got puppy dogs, butterflies,
rainbows. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with even more. We are back, and now we're going to talk about the not so nice part of the technology. It's paying for it, and everybody cringes when they say, what's the price tag? Because honestly, again, I looked at some of the technology and I looked at some of the pricing, and it can get a little hairy.
It can. The pricing aspects deal specifically with the levels of technology that people work with. Pretty much about all the manufacturers have very closely related pricing ranges because the technologies are very similar.
Right.
There's specialty items for particular manufacturers that we might utilize, but they can go from basically a few $100s for very basic technology all the way up to several thousands of dollars for that Ferrari we were talking about itself.
And people can get a little nervous. People can get a little antsy. They can say, well, that is going to guide my decision on what I purchase.
Right.
And you try to kind of gear them away from that. You want to make sure they get what they need.
Yes.
And you actually work with them on the price. Is that correct?
That's right. Number one, because we are owners, we are able to allocate the pricing tables that fit in with the business itself. So I guess you could say for the business people, they understand lower overhead.
Sure.
Lower pricing on the systems themselves. Plus, we also work with the insurance companies. We are providers for a multitude of different insurance companies. We work with a lot of different group setups. We honor agreements for somebody that may not have a group or insurance program through us. We will actually allocate, discounting applicable to help them out. And there's also different payment programs that are set up that are as easy as $28 a month.
And that's even for people who don't even have insurance.
That's right.
Maybe you have the greatest insurance, but hearing isn't included.
That's right, yes. We also deal with a program that helps out people who can't afford anything to where we apply through the Hearing Foundation, and they are able to actually, if they qualify, get basically a free set of hearing aids, and we donate our time to fit them, to help them through the process for the after effects. So there's something for everybody. It's just a matter of where do you fall into this and what's their need.
And again, that's what I cannot stress enough about these segments that I always do with local business owners. Deal with local people and you're going to get the help. You're going to get the technology without having to drive to the bigger cities. And that means if something goes wrong or if you have a question, you don't have to wait. You can walk into your office and literally say, this is not right, or I'm doing something wrong, or this is great.
Right.
Where do I take the next step?
That's it. We have an open door policy for our clients. We pre-schedule as is anyways. You may say you're doing absolutely fine. Well, you're pre-scheduled for a 2-month clean and check, 1-year updated testing, reprogramming, whenever that's needed, it's taken care of.
Right.
There's no office charges that come along with this. The service is something that we like to provide, and it makes sure that the patients have that local access. If I have problems, I don't have to wait for somebody later down the road.
So I cannot stress, and I'm sure you cannot stress enough, do not get hung up on price. Do not get hung up on the stigma of, oh, I don't want to look old. Come in. get a consultation. And you know what? He's going to offer one of the things that is, I think, fantastic about my show. If you have a question out there and you'd like to just know one thing or two things,
yes,
send them in. Facebook me, tweet me. You know, hey, call into the office. I will write them down. He's going to be back in the hot seat. We'll ask. Maybe you don't want to make that consultation just yet. You're still nervous. This is a great way to break it down,
yes,
find out your answers, and then feel better about making that appointment. Because truthfully, the first step is picking up that phone or walking into your office for that consultation.
That's right, and that's the hardest thing for patients is just, I'm not sure. I don't know what comes with it because I've heard all these horror stories and everything else. It's not like that at all.
Right.
Any questions, whether they already have instruments and have had problems, if they're looking at, hey, what do I do in terms of I just want to get it checked to see what's going on, just give us a call or even stop in the office.
Yep.
We'll be able to set them right up, get them some good information.
Absolutely. So again, if you do have those initial questions, send them in. We're going to get started with questions. I have a feeling that there's going to be a few.
That's great. I absolutely love that. Our job's to help people out.
Sure. Greg, thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate you taking your time. And I know you guys have questions out there, so definitely keep those coming, and we'll put you back in the hot seat.
All right. Sounds good.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.